this week's episode of 41st View. Myself, Bob, himself, Ryan.
What's happening, folks?
And this week we're delighted to be joined by one of Dublin's most culturally influential people, I think. Mr. Al Macer himself. Macer, welcome to the show.
Culturally what?
Influential people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You are, bro.
Oh, well, to get that out.
Okay.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to say
I
that.
read a dictionary before I came in here. A little
Thanks,
thesaurus
that's it.
this morning.
That's it.
How are you, bro, though?
I'm great. I'm good.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thanks so
coming
much
down.
for dropping up. We really do appreciate your time. It's with every guest that comes up and gives us that time. It is very
Big
much
show.
appreciated.
Well,
So
it's a pleasure to be
we're here on a Sunday morning.
I know,
Nice
and
and fresh.
I admire you guys for being so fresh. And like I'm
I
in
had a
my
few last
40s,
night,
so I have
not
no
gonna lie.
excuse.
It took
You
a lot.
guys-
It took a lot to get here.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, appreciate you dropping down. We jump straight into it just to
Yeah.
get things going. Take us through a little bit of like when you initially started in the street art graffiti kind of world.
Yeah. That label street art sort of came on after. It's a bit of a plastic saying, but
Yeah.
there's two different worlds. There's street art, which is sort of Banksy responding to
Things
whatever,
that have happened.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
kinda
and graffiti is more like for a subculture, community, tribe, whatever you want to call it, of artists who express themselves through letter form, and you want to get up and get your name around, so you create this alias. Mine was Macer,
Yeah.
and you just sort of primarily want to express yourself through abstract typography, skewing letters, stuff like that, like, you know, and just loads of layers to it.
Yeah.
Just, you know, want to get up and explore the city and get around. So I had a keen interest in that from about the age of 14. A pal of mine was into it. Then we came across, there's a shop called Forbidden Planet,
Yeah.
but it used to be on Harcourt Street.
Okay. Yeah.
No, it used to be on Dawson Street. Sorry, we went in there just looking at mags, and there's this one magazine called Graffitism, and it was just like an index into graph, because all I saw was tags prior to that where I lived,
yeah.
and then this is like a full English graffiti scene, and I got drawn in that way really, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So it sort of ticked a lot of boxes for me, because as sort of a kid, I was okay at sports, but I was never really in it. I sort of always sort of orbiting on the fucking periphery, awkward,
yeah.
like puberty, lanky, spotty, like just fucking.
What am I?
Yeah, what am I? Who am I? Still have a
Bob's
bit of
still
that.
going through
I'm
that.
still going through it. I still don't know what I am.
So I found this little niche of like,
Yeah,
I'd art, and I loved art, but it was you know, in my sort of circles, like, what the fuck is art? It's a hobby. It's weak. It's sort of
get
like
you.
self-expression.
Yeah,
That's silly.
Yeah.
And so graffiti sort of lend itself quite well. So like a bridge for that. Like, if you get me?
Yeah, kind of.
Where you could still be boisterous and be yourself and still express yourself. So I just
course,
fucking
yeah.
leaned into it so much. I like it a lot.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's funny because like I don't know what it is, but I think every young fella has, and girls do it as well, obviously. But for me, with my mates, we kind of started doing graffiti just for the sake of like doing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't really an interest. It was more like, how could we get away with like spray painting?
Yeah, like
And it was a bit of fun as well, like, and coming up with tags and stuff. Like, I
Yeah,
remember
it was
my
rebellious in a way, kind
Yeah,
of.
Yeah, and that's a part of growing
Yeah,
up. Like,
my-
you push
mine
back.
was-
Yeah.
My tag was Zeke. Z-E-A-K.
I
yeah.
remember that.
You're serious?
Yeah,
You had a
yeah.
tag, bro.
Yeah, we used to go around. I remember one time I got a brand new tracksuit, yeah. And we went tagging
Mackenzie
around.
tracksuit, yeah.
Yeah, I think it might have been Mackenzie or Echo.
Rated JD.
Echo, was it? Or what was the one with
Echo.
the...
Oh, you're really into
the old
into
school.
graph.
Yeah.
I got shot.
And we went spray painting, and in my brand new tracksuit, obviously, and I got a load of paint on me sleeve, on the sleeve of my tracksuit.
Yeah.
I got home, my ma rinsed me out. She's like, "What were
Yeah.
you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I must have ran into a wall and there was paint on it." She's like, "I know you were spray painting." I says, "I wasn't, ma. Someone ratted on you." I'm not touted on, I did, yeah.
shit,
And she
shit,
cut me
shit.
out straight away, and she's like, "You're not stepping out foot out of this house now for
Oh,
2
you're
weeks."
serious?
Yeah,
Don't, bro.
yeah. I was gone. I was But it was a lot of fun, like sneaking into places.
Yeah, this is it.
and,
You
like,
get to explore. And
yeah.
like, and then prior to that, probably in your early teens, you were still doing that, climbing on roofs, getting into abandoned warehouses. You're still
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It probably just gave more of a purpose now, like, you know. And but like, you could peel back the layers on that a bit and be like this joy and fun and meeting people. But there could be more to it. Like, I think anyway, when I was, let's say, I get the dart and you see all the. This is definitely a sense of like wanting to leave your mark and be present and here and not be forgotten. We all sort of have that. Could be one of the reasons you're creating a podcast. We producers here,
course,
sort of leave an impression, and that fundamentally could be one of the core reasons why I or other artists were painting. It's like you don't want to be stuck in this rat race. You have something to express, and you want to fucking literally mark your space. Like,
Yeah.
I think that but then there's also all the fun part.
But it is mad. Like, I'd be looking around the city and you see a tag somewhere and you're like, how the fuck did they get up there?
Like a
Yeah.
Vogue.
Like, Vogue is just everywhere, man.
A Vogue
What
seems
a
to be just
beast. What a
climbing
king,
things
man.
like.
I'm just waiting to look up
G.
the top of the spire and just see a Vogue on
Vogue
the top
up
of
there.
it.
He
Yeah,
is
somehow. Like,
unbelievable, man.
how did they
Incredible
get
guy.
up there? Like, in
I don't
Just
mad spots
ambition
and all?
and drive, and has a sense of purpose with it, and
Yeah.
it's just it obviously fulfills them quite a lot, and
Yeah.
that's enough. Like if you're training for something or like running, you get that sense of fulfillment and
Yeah.
purpose. Like that's enough of a driver to do it and feel
Absolutely.
heard and seen.
Yeah,
that's
I can
it.
imagine just say someone like Evoke just looking up someone like, yeah, that's a good spot.
Yeah.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
gonna
and like
get
the
that
around.
lens
I'm
of
gonna
how he
get that.
sees the city. You
Exactly,
know,
like it's through
You
their
know?
eyes. Like,
it's just like I've heard some.
we don't. We look at things and we don't see that sort of
Exactly,
thing.
yeah,
but
yeah.
Whereas like
Yeah,
yourselves
because
and like
the
artists,
street
they
is a
do.
very transient space. We're going from A to B to the
Yeah.
house, but like there's this whole space in between that's really,
Yeah.
really interesting. And graffiti writers and street artists look at that space, and we share that space with loads of other people who live in that space, like homeless, and
Yeah.
that's why you've built great relationships with the city and people in it, like
Yeah.
because you see it through it and experience it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a vibrant culture though as well. Like
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
is. Like there's a lot to it. There's a lot of anonymity to it as well. Like which
Yeah.
like like not a lot of people will like kind of know who these people are. Like
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just even where yourself when you initially started and when I would see like your bits and bobs.
Yeah, it was
couldn't
all
tell you who
hush
you were.
hush.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it wouldn't
tell
make
you who you
sense,
were.
obviously, to go on a podcast.
Yeah, of course. Like, yeah.
We'll have to put a shadow over
Yeah.
his face and
Just all
a voice modular and all. Like,
Just all dark in the corner, like his voice has changed and stuff like that. Oh my god.
No, there was that's a part of it, and that still is very relevant and
course.
to
Yeah.
the community. I am the graffiti writer anymore. I'd be only fucking disrespecting that culture if I was to say
Course,
that.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I came
of
from
course.
that space, but there's artists there are strong in that and
Yeah.
representing and it's a real value because there's no when we did it and guys there's no bigger outcome. So
Yeah.
it's real true expression. It's a very authentic.
Yeah.
You know it's authentic because there's no fucking return in it in
Yeah,
some way.
yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of the monetary world that we live in, there's a lot
Course,
more.
yeah,
but like,
yeah.
so that's why these artists have true integrity. They're
Yeah.
risking a lot and just express themselves. Like it's incredible.
yeah, it is quite like it's cool to see that people are actually out there trying to put a stamp on something that, as you said, it's not much monetary value behind it or anything like that, but to still want to go out and do these things
Leave
and
the mark,
leave the
like.
mark.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's class. Like I've always looked at like and some of the pieces that you see like are crazy good.
Yeah.
It's and I always say it like with say tattoo artists, for them to have the skill to do that on someone's skin, it's kind of the same as like doing
Same
a big
with us, yeah.
huge piece like and
Yeah.
and like how like some like you, as you said you were talking about magazine earlier. I'm sure they have the best of the best graffiti
Yeah.
like, pieces in them, and to see that someone is actually able to do that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Phenomenal,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's crazy to think.
I
someone is that-
think most people can with most things. You can just putting in that time and dedication.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
that 1,000 hours shit, whatever. But like, we've done a good few 10,000 hours on things. But like, it's that. It's like, and you
Yeah.
just have that drive and passion for it. You just pour yourself into it, and
go
then
for it, yeah.
the inevitable return is you're going to produce better work. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, dead right. Sure, even for years as I was coming down like on the 122 and I would turn like on the Camden Street and seeing the You Are Alive and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah,
that. Like
yeah.
that was always just such a major kind of one for me. Like I love
Yeah,
that one. Like
did you? Yeah.
so
I'm gonna
good, like-
repaint it now again in a while. I update it every.
You
few
did, yeah.
years.
Every few years it's changed. Like yeah.
That came from my little cousin passed away tragically a few years ago, and I was at his wake, and just sort of all his pals were there, and I was sort of talking with him, still in the
Yeah.
present,
Yeah.
him still in the room, and just that words "You're alive" were there, and I wrote it down. I had a little notebook at the time. It's all the phone now, obviously. And then I was looking at how to communicate that, and then the idea of like availing of this once in a lifetime opportunity. And then I was looking at like space, and I'd done a lot of typography based murals at the time, coming off the back of graffiti. I'd studied visual communications, typography. I had a great tutor, David Smith, really heavy on type. So that sort of amalgamated, my public work with typography, and I started doing this socially conscious messaging. And yeah, just sort of put it there, and I had to keep it very simple because it's a quite short. Like you come on the bus, you got a second to read it and absorb it, and there's a lot of visual noise around advertising and that, and people and whatever. So that's where that, and I think the authenticity we talked about sort of came through there, and people saw it. And it wasn't me saying "Maesters alive" or Richie, what I'm thinking of you, it was an open message that people could sort of take ownership of.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's how it sort of struck with a lot of people, like, a bit like a song, like, you know, you're singing a song, you're pretending you're Damien Dempsey or whatever, or whatever, Shakira.
only on the weekends.
Last night on the Lewis. But so you're I think that's how that sort of worked without me knowing it. I just did it, and then
but it resonated though. It
resonated with a lot of people. It seems to be photographed a lot, and I get tagged a lot in it. And so I sort of updated at different times, and I collaborated with amazing artists. There's no aches, obviously. Me and him did one together, and then I did one there a few years ago. So I'm going to do it again. Just change the format of it, like to refresh it. And
it is. It's definitely like an eye catcher when you're going past it. Like it definitely stands out. I know you're talking about like kind of the hustle and bustle around it, but to still be able to do something like that will
to revisit it,
stand
like,
out.
as often as you do. Like it's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's an important area for me. Like Charlemont Street was where my first studio was, above the George Bernard pub 13 years ago.
R.I.P.
Alright, the pirate ship just landed and just docked up for 13 years, and we just raved, and they left, just pulled out and went back down the canal. But yeah, my first studio was upstairs there, and that was an amazing moment in time. Like, you know, there was, it was a pirate ship, and so then I actually left and moved to the States, then moved to London, and came back and ended up back at Charlemont Street where the old flats were, like, and the French Mullen House got redeveloped. The residence there now upstairs for me, but I set up a gallery there and back there. So that whole area is quite important to me. Like I'm always there. The canal in general, I always lived around the canal. From you guys live in Drimmen as well. I lived there for a little bit, to Rackar, to Harles Cross, to Rathmines, and then just down the road in Beggar's Bush. So that whole area. So that's why I have the Don't Be Afraid mural there as well. And I hope to do more, like, around it.
Yeah, you seem to like a good statement.
A good statement.
In your pieces,
I did, yeah. I thought it was an easy transition for me to... Yeah, I found that there was definitely, at the time, I didn't like the snobbery of art or, like, not being accessible. Even though I do very abstract work, there was this other way of, like, very clear messaging and communicating. And coming off the back of doing graffiti in the public space... That conversation with the public and engagement with the city, it was me then just having a very clear, like, conversation, and I could see people respond to it. I found it really intriguing. So that's why I stripped everything back, not fluff. It was just like, you are alive. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Love yourself today. You know, and it served well. And I've moved on from that since. Like, there's chapters in your work, and it does it, and you need to. I wasn't probably getting enough fulfillment there, but I lean into it occasionally here and there. But now I'm in a different sort of journey,
different space.
You know, it's
You're
abstract.
evolving as an artist, like
and that's it. And as a person, like, it's probably you should be worried if you're probably still doing the same shit 10 years ago as a person, as work, you know. So that narrative still stayed the same, though. That communication idea, it moved into installation work and how shared space. I just created the space, and how people engage, and the idea of escapism, creating these sort of hyper realities, which is like a Disneyland, if that's an example of a hyper reality. So creating these environments, so it's all still based on the public, you know, and how they engage with it and stuff.
Brilliant. It's even like when you did, was it Mesa Hotel in the States? Though, it was all a sense of like community and stuff like that. You got people involved in that too. To help do that whole, you know.
Yeah, it's a bit hard with some people who've had major drug addictions.
Well,
to do it. Like, okay, we need to be here at 9 a.m. in Las Vegas.
Oh no!
Well, we got it done. And the
scale
people
of it, though,
you meet. That was the Mesa Motel. It was. The initiative of that was I was the sort of Irish part of this, what I call a fucking circus, right? So all these, like, the UK artist, Brazilian, and I was the guy from Ireland, and we all went in these sort of mural festivals around the world, and they did one in Vegas, in downtown Vegas, and, you know, I think this is their intentions. It's like, if there's an area that they need to rejuvenate.
Yeah,
You send in a load of mural artists because it's a very cost-effective way to gentrify a
just do it,
space.
yeah,
And
of
coffee
course.
shops come in, cinemas, yada yada yada, and then we all got kicked out. You know,
You
but
gotta
like,
leave.
so there was an old motel that I saw, and I said I could transform this into a space that people could paint. And I tried to get, you know, young people who are from the community to sort of get involved, and it's usually good, but it's just on that one that was a bit sticky at times.
A little bit sticky.
Yeah.
A little bit dicey.
But you ask them to do a lot of work. Like I'd
Yeah,
be
of
well up
course.
for fucking doing 12, 14 hours painting and slog because it's my passion and my thing. But it's you can't expect everyone else to be just
be
like
like that,
paint that blue for 8 hours and have the same drive and
of
ambition.
course.
So there's a lot of project management that's involved in that
Right,
as well. Like,
and
you know.
especially being in Vegas as well, like it's a mad,
Yeah,
mad shop
I
all
I was
there.
so
like,
good. I can't believe how good I was. I don't think I even drank because it's so hot that like you don't sweat. So you have to really be mindful of your energy and stay hydrated.
yeah.
And I was trying to get painted before the sun. And
Where's Macy's off in the slots? Project management. Oh, I hear that. You know what I mean? You can't get out of it.
hit me,
Yeah, covered in
24, hit me.
Absolute cracker.
Yeah, no, I won't talk about Vegas, but
yeah. I need to go revisit it.
but it is really interesting to see kind of like just speaking with you and like kind of getting the reasons behind why you do things.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I would be very much like I'd see something and I'd look at it for how it looks. I maybe don't look at it at a deeper level.
Yeah.
Whereas like
Take
now,
it as face value. kind of thing.
just take it as how I say. Like I see it as say the You Are Alive as like it's eye catching and it's and it's like that's all like I just didn't think of it on a deeper level. But then when you explain it, it does make a lot more sense.
That's more resonance.
Yeah, it's like when it's who was it we had on? We were talking to someone on the podcast and it's like it was Chameleon where he was saying he wrote that first song with just the music.
Yeah.
And it's like I listened to it first and I was like I wasn't sure about it. But then when he explained how he made it, I was like, oh shit, now it actually I can hear why it was made. And it's really cool to see and to speak with yourself and be like, oh, so that's why.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people miss with art.
Yeah.
And like I would be one of those people.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like I go into museums I love and I look at it for face value. And then if I'm really drawn to it, then I'll go to the next step and like read who it is and maybe the rationale behind it and get a bit of a better understanding. And then you might really like the work where you look at all the work and go to the exhibition and sort of absorb it there. But yeah, no, that's not, you don't, there's different roles. Like, you know, if you make a painting, you'll get kids coming in and respond to it different and it depends. Like, you know, you can't be fucking expecting people to know
Not
why
everything is that deep.
Yeah. Like, you know, you just take it as it is. Like, and you have your reasons for doing it. I had my reasons for doing it, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to force it down everyone's
I'm
throat.
not going to ram it down
I'm
your
not going
neck
to
there.
talk about it on a podcast.
No, we need
No, I think one of the first things that got me into was the Homebird
Oh, yeah.
collection back in the day. Because
Jeez, fair play, you know that, yeah.
like Leah Burke
He's a
was a
big
good
fan.
friend of ourselves.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, we worked with Leah for
we
years.
worked
So
with Leah, top man,
Leah
yeah.
was always
No
the one who
way.
would kind of
Yeah.
talk about what she was doing
yeah.
with yourself. And we were like, oh, well, I was like, oh, who is this guy? Like, and the
Yeah.
more I kind of got into it, I was like, oh,
Leah's
this
a
is
legend.
legend.
She was on the shoot with us there for that Hennessy gig that we
Yeah.
did, and she was the stylist, and I got to hang out with her again. Like, yeah, the Homebird gig
That was
came
way back
about.
when.
That word,
But that's
came
evolved though, even now, hasn't it? Like you've kind of done more, like you know, like it was it clothing? kind
yeah,
of
it was
thing you did
clothing. It was
before,
a fun
yeah.
thing, you know.
Yeah.
And like, if you to do it now, you probably have more infrastructure and exposure to build it out more. But it's more just a fun thing, and we did it,
thing
and
to do, yeah.
making it, and building out the sets, and doing the shoots, and getting pals like Albert Huey to video it, and it was just a fun thing. Like you know, it came to an end, and it's not to say it can't come back alive again, but it was responded to really well, and I think the word Homebird is. That must have came from Damos. My studios at that time was in Newmarket Square, and it's changed now, obviously. But like, I had painted just big "I'm a Homebird" on the front of it. So that word, probably just reading it every day, gave me the idea to fucking make a label called Homebird. But I'm very sure that those words came from Damo, from the project I did with him. But yeah, it was a fun thing. It was a cool
thing.
project. Like yeah. And she like, I think we both had different skill sets that we could lend to it. Like, and maybe we should do it again. Like, you know,
Revisit it.
yeah. There's not
Homebird
enough.
revisit.
Well, I'm now, you know, I'm not clued in as much, but There's the lads on Jury Street. What are they called? Emporium. Yeah. See them doing it, but I don't see many other sort of streetwear brands as many as I.
Yeah.
Like there could be more. I think.
There's a few popping up here and there. Yeah, but like I
it's a
think
struggle though. Like.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah.
Like you do the margins. You're like, what's the fucking point? Like, but it's a big investment for a lot of people. Like to get it printed and.
Yeah, it's so difficult for like the smaller kind of businesses to do that. Versus like, because they're putting Carhartt at the bottom of Jewelry Street now as well.
That's it. Yeah,
and it's like these can just come in.
Two of us repping Carhartt here as well.
Like, fuck. No, I'm not saying that bad, but I just mean for like I think there are a lot of people that are trying to get into the fashion brands, but it's whether you can do it right or not is.
Of course, yeah. I don't know enough about it, but it seems to be you can do it to a certain degree, and then you need some major investment that brings in marketing and everything. Just really bring it to the space where.
I think Pelador are doing really well as well.
They're flying at the moment.
Are they? Yeah.
Oh yeah, super good. Like.
Yeah. But there are small independent people that are trying to do these things. But as I said, it's and I always feel like I'd say you maybe felt it as well, kind of in your early days. It's just that one thing that needs to click
for it to go.
For it to take off. Like it's
still waiting for that.
Stop. You've done so much collabs though with a lot of like brilliant people and stuff like that.
Lucky enough. Like I'm putting together a presentation I have to do tomorrow, and so you get to sort of review everything. And and there's one slide from me in St. Pat's Prison, and the next one is Michael D. Higgins reading me poetry in Norris Neutron. And it was just like the spectrum that you have there, it's huge. But like that's the beauty of art, that it puts you in all these really interesting spaces. Like that that would never be in otherwise. Like it's a great vehicle to sort of meet.
It's a great Rolodex.
It's just deadly, and both have just as much value. Both just, now Michael D. Higgins is like hyper intelligent. He brings you on this journey of where you're like, we spoke about the in between, if I can remember, and he fleshed that out, like the in between, right? I like the in between moments and time, and you're like quantum physics sort of conversations, and you're holding on, like just trying to like keep with the conversation, and it's incredible. But I just was in St. Pat's, and I was with like young offenders there from Limerick, and having really deep. Guys who are in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day, and having serious conversations that this guy is intelligent, and he just hasn't been given the opportunity to sort of carve out his life yet, and it's been forced on him because of his environment. What way his life is going to be, you know.
It is one of those things whereby like there are like the people kind of that you don't expect. There is a lot more to them. Like just because like if you say you're walking down the street and you see someone dressed mad, and you're like, oh, they're obviously something whatever going on, and then you speak to them and you're like, holy shit, like we have a lot more in common than I would have thought.
Man.
And it's the same with the podcast. I remember when I done that run with Ross, and he was asking me like what was the goal of the podcast, and I had said it was like you want that kind of maybe that bit of fame or whatever it is, but actually it's speaking to people, and the like people. Having conversations with people that I would have never had a conversation with without this, and then you kind of start seeing a different outlook on life. And of course. It makes like even like speaking with yourself, it's cool to have a conversation.
Yeah, it totally is.
Even when you're on the Lewis whiskey, it's good to have a conversation.
I shouldn't write it off, like what I mean? Maybe that's what I've been missing my whole life. No, you're dead right though. But you did was it like a installation in like Mountjoy as well?
Mountjoy Prison. There, that was that came about in 2010. I was so go back a year, and I was in Newmarket Square, and I listened to Damien Dempsey a lot. I don't know what album was it back then, but it really resonated with me, as a young man. And I just felt, his voice was just very relatable, and his messaging, and I sort of had this idea, like, how could I use my tools to sort of extend his messaging within my audience. Like it's trying to say it like that, but like it simply was me just wanting to paint his lyrics on the walls, like and me connecting with that a lot more, and maybe fanboying a bit. I wanted to hang out with him.
I mean, he's
He's a legend.
So I got to meet him, and we met in Grogan's, and I was so nervous. Like, it was so important to me. I had my laptop there, and I opened it up. I actually went into Grogan's, couldn't see him. And what do? You go to the Jacks. So I got to go to the Jacks.
run away.
And as I'm walking by, there's Damien Dempsey, there in Jacks. And so I started like explaining the whole fucking project. You know, he's like, just meet you outside, buddy. Yeah. I was like, okay, thanks. You know,
see you outside,
into the
J-Mo.
toilet.
yeah,
Like,
like
fucking
calm
idiot.
down, kid. And I got the
Looking at him in the
laptop
mirror
out.
himself. Like, you're a fucking idiot, man. Ruined it.
You had one shot, one opportunity.
I just left it. So I opened the laptop and explained to him, and it was so important to me at the time, like, you know, and I just photoshopped "It's all good" or whatever on the wall, and there's sweat dripping from my nose onto
you
the laptop.
serious?
I was that nervous, and it's so
Wow,
important
yeah.
to me, you know.
Yeah.
And at the end, Damon being Dempsey, so you just want to paint the woods on the wall, whatever, like, you know,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
simplified
Very
it.
simple,
But like
yeah.
that's, you know,
Essentially.
he read it and he spat back exactly what I was trying to say, like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and so that was it. And he started flooding me with loads of different lyrics and messages, and I was painting one of them down in Temple Bar, this little lane there.
Oh, I'd rather trust the
Dealer, yeah, in the car by the
yeah,
corner.
yeah,
And I met this
Both
fella,
ones as well.
Kevin, that was on crutches, and he's a homeless man, and got chatting to him, and just, as I said, remember earlier about this sort of in-between space,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it was his home and my place to paint, so we had this common ground where we weren't just going somewhere. So we were yapping away. I was in no rush, so we were yapping away, and then he was addicted to heroin, so he wanted me to help him do his heroin. I just sort of got roped into it. But just Shelton was windy.
41st View exclusive.
It was windy, you know, and so I'm just sort of like helping him. He's doing his bits, and then it was that little lane, and you could hear the horses. The guards were coming down. Like, someone obviously saw two guys, and but we had a little bond, and you know,
Yeah.
we pretty much told them how to fuck off, and I was sort of on the sideline. But I finished up, and then we walked up together, and we walked. He was on crutches, so we took our time. Went up near Charlement's. There's homeless place there on top of Harcourt Street, and we were going up there, and he told me his whole journey, and it was that he used to be a butcher in like Super Queen, something like that, out in Dunleary, and his brother was the manager of the shop, and his brother died tragically. He wasn't able to sort of manage that stress, cope. Lost his job, lost his home,
knock-on effect.
caused a crime to support himself, ended up in Mountjoy. In Mountjoy, then got addicted to heroin, and then was homeless and shit. And that's when I met him. So I was like, wow, that journey, like, is, you know, we stayed in contact as well, and I just found that really sort of interesting and sort of inspiring as an artist. So then I wanted to go into Mountjoy. So to extend that project I was doing with Damien Dempsey called They Are Us, based on like the homeless, they're just like us. Wanted to go in and sort of explore what that journey was like. So got access to Mountjoy prison and St. Pat's, and went in there for like 2 months. Went in for a month and then another month. Took a month off. I think went on holidays to Greece with my girlfriend, like having the best life. And come back, I was like, fuck, this place hasn't changed. Like, you know?
Still the same.
And I could go on about that whole experience for ages, but like it just, that's what it was. Went in there, did it, and learned so much. And I painted murals. And once the inmates knew that I wasn't being paid or I wasn't being funded, there was a great sort of friendship there, and you're like, you know, helping me out, and like wouldn't let me like wash the brushes or anything like that, like, you know, really
They get
respected.
involved with it.
And I'd say that's because they were like, this is something so new, like we have never had this, so like they were, because there's nothing else to do, they're from like head force now, armbands, let's help, like
And then I got to bring Damien Dempsey in, and he performed a few tunes, and it was deadly. It was deadly. The energy between Mountjoy and St. Pat's, and St. Pat's is under 18s, under 21s, under 21s, I think. The energy is completely different. Like, it's more settled in Mountjoy. Anyway, the part that I was in, but like St. Pat's was like, you know, that young energy, like something to prove. It was like, you could fucking feel it, man. I remember the door opening first time into the yard. I was like, am I gonna do it? Like, it was just like, you know. And then it settled. I just settled into it and got to paint some cool murals, like with the guys there in the breakout rooms, and it was deadly. It was amazing. It was amazing. All accumulated then into a big project that me and Damien Dempsey, an exhibition of all the murals, and we ended up with painting Ballymun, one of the blocks there. And his parents originally from there, like, and his brothers, I think he might have moved to Donaghmede when he was born or something like that. But we painted that, and we
kind of full circle moment for
it
himself
was.
in a way,
We talked to Dublin Simon then. We're like, what do you need? And he said a medical van. So it was 30 grand. So that was go. We raised, like, Christy Moore paid for all the framing. Everyone just sort of chipped in, and we got to 30 grand. And well, it's probably not still on the road, but the first medical van that was bought by Simon Community was because of me and Damo. Like,
Deadly,
yeah,
yeah.
it was deadly. So it was a full, as you said, full circle to sort of come back around and very rewarding. It was also,
Of course, yeah.
But no, it definitely sounds so rewarding, and just like that experience in itself, like even just like painting in the lane has what it led to. That kind of, you know, that in-depth kind of like discussion with that person led down a road for yourself. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That shared experience, like that you're sharing. What was it that you said? You're sharing that like that experience or that like that area together.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
his area, but it's also yours. That where you're kind of like
we had this common ground, sort of like you know, and that's it. And it's
kind of
ownership
don't think
of
of
city.
it like that. Like, do you know what I mean?
And you know, and that can extend out more that we do own this city, and you know, we should be proud of it. And it's volatile sort of space at the moment. I feel like it's quite extreme on both sides, but like, you know, there still should be a lot of pride for our city, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's shared space. That's what I keep thinking. Like it's, you know,
And with the reward, like, because as you were talking earlier about kind of the monetization of art and stuff, like, is the reward, like, for you yourself, as you've kind of gotten older, is the reward worth more than any kind of money, or like as a person, rather than like the money is not as important, or like obviously that makes
we
the
look,
world
we
go
got to
round,
pay a rent, a mortgage, and like
course.
it's a part of it. But like there's been over the years where like you could get more focus on commercial work and think it's very rewarding, but then you're still not, you know, itching to scratch, like, you know, and you're not feeling fulfilled. And I can see it in myself. I won't be as happy, or like when I literally in the moment paint, right? When I'm painting in the studio, I'm not joking. It's like literally like I have just pure joy and love and like this higher power energy in me. Like I don't get that if I do a sign writing commercial job for someone, like, you know, I just get that. And so I just want to try to feed that as much. Now you have to pull away, but if I can get into space where I can do that as much as I want without being too tapered with it, and then still make an income, like that's the fucking sweet spot.
That's gold.
And that happens
like,
right there,
occasionally.
baby.
That's that sweet spot.
Yeah, you know, that's it. So it's constant, like, for me over the last 2 decades, it's been like as if, you know the way an airplane takes off and you're going to fucking Ibiza. Maybe that's not a good example, but like,
we're going to Ibiza, baby.
but like it always has to correct its coordinates. Like, you know, go off coordinate and readjust and realign. And that's sort of what your career is. You're like, where am I going right now? Reevaluate. Okay, I'm on the path, and realign. And once you find out where your destination is, and mine is to be full expressive, to leave something purposeful behind with a good impression. You know, I'll go off track a little bit and feel lost, and then just recalibrate.
But you're still rooted.
Yeah, got to just keep where that destination is.
And was
like,
there times in that journey where you were kind of maybe thinking, oh, fuck, like, should I go
last
get a
week.
trail?
Last night.
I met this guy on the Lewis. He wouldn't stop talking.
No, there's like in more immediate times, like the pressures of, you know, having a young family and supporting them, and the pressures of living in Dublin, and sometimes I feel like I'm fucking just swimming against the current when you could be living somewhere else where it is more respected and absorbed. But I'm rooted to here. I'm a home bird. I love it. So you sort of, and it has a lot to offer. Like Dublin is beautiful. But then like over my career, over years, there's times of just breaking down and being really upset and lost in it, and you know, and that's also mental health, I think, as artists and everybody, like you know, you have to mind your head. Mine's delicate at times, and the lifestyle I was choosing at the time definitely wasn't feeding it, or like feeding it in the wrong way, and so all that come together. I have to just really, really protect the head now, you know, and so there was times where I remember crying, like I just couldn't, you know, be so pressurized, and that was because commercial work, it wasn't aligned with my purpose and attention, and I was misaligned.
Yeah, that probably kind of in your own head, you're like, I'm not happy doing this, but I need to
even
do
though
it.
there's a paycheck, and so that proves it, you know.
Still not me, though. It's still,
you know, but you gotta fucking do it, because you know, and there's years and years I just lived week by week, or didn't have the money, I have to borrow money and get by, and you know, that's how it was. But I always sort of, and I wanted to exit so many times, and I might have said that I want to go do display and fucking Urban Outfitters or something because
Yeah.
it's a job, and then someone might be like, "Oh, don't just stay on track."
Stick
I'm like,
to it,
oh
yeah.
fuck, okay, get back on it.
I'll eat rice and beans for
like,
the next week. So
you know, right now I'll be totally transparent. Like January, February, there's been no projects in or anything like that, and you have to build up for an exhibition, and you're trying to get into headspace of paint, and then worried about fucking electricity bill to where you'd be like, should I be looking at a consultant for an agency, and then you sit with that like, no, that's gonna make you upset again, and like, so there's always push and pull, and you just get through it, like, you know, and you try and do other things then in your life to sort of help manage that. So I went for a jog this morning, get to have conversations with you, and that'll all feed the good wolf, let's say, to then be able to keep me on track.
Great way of putting it as well.
It's what you feed, like, totally. You know, if I was out having pints last night in the Lewis, like, I might be here now. Pints on the Lewis.
Just take my points on it.
if there's one thing about me, I'll always show up.
He
will always show up.
I know, joking.
Might be in bits, but you show up. You show up.
I'm alright.
Oh, you're great.
I'll have to open that bottle of whiskey.
Hair of the dog.
12 o'clock on a Sunday.
And just on like the creative aspect of things, like you've obviously probably went through, like, you know, like me as a writer, like sometimes like for doing music and stuff like that, I'd always hit that creative bump. Do you know what I mean? And like it can be often, it can be a struggle to kind of overcome. Like, but where do you find your kind of inspiration for if that happens to yourself?
Yeah, I'd probably be very aware of my environment, so absorb from that. So a lot of the projects that I've done where I talked about, it's in hindsight I can talk about them. I'm sort of just doing them. I'm responding. It feels right. I'm sort of doing it. And then in reflection, I'm like, oh yeah, that was for this. Like, that was that motivation. But like last year I went through a bit of a long bump. And it started at I was on a residency in Paris with the Centre de Culture de Irlandaise. It's a deadly spot you should check out. But I applied for it and I got it. And it's there for a month. And when I was there, I sort of could step out of my environment and look at what my work was and who I was with. And even though the galleries are great people, it didn't align again with who I wanted to be, where I wanted to go. I was going down different routes. So I had to just stop. Yeah. And as scary as that was, I was like, I just stopped working, stopped painting, still be thinking, but I stopped working with any gallery, got all my work back, and sort of just regrouped. And took it. I thought it might take a month, it's taken like a year. And I'm only back painting in the last few weeks, but I've come back with a way more fresh perspective on
Outlook,
it. Yeah. Now I was lucky that I was doing a commercial project that funded me to take that time to think. Otherwise, now I don't have that funding anymore. I'm fucking back in it. But no, that's I hit the speed bumps, and so what do I do around that? I try to be like empathetic and patient with myself, and look at other avenues of like, you know, taking care of myself or exploration. And so you know what it was actually? I'd lost the sort of fun and play and exploration of my work. I was painting for others. I was like, when you start painting, like, where's this going? What gallery? How much is it going to be sold for? And like, as sweet as that is, it was like the whole reason people bought my work is for me and like your voice. And I'd sort of lost it, so I had to just regroup. And now I learned that like the work now is more about me, internalizing myself. It's more outer, and now it's more internal. You're getting a more authentic work from me now. So. You know, there's no linear way around it, and you got to do to get by at times. And I don't know what the next 6 months are going to look like, even though I've been in this for so fucking long. But like, I just got to trust your. I know that I'm ambitious and driven and disciplined and creative, and if I can just lean into that and believe that, I'll get through it.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely will. Like,
it's
just it comes around like every so often though as well. You know, when you as you were saying, the exploration phase, you're kind of wondering what is something that's interesting to you right now, and then you can explore that more. And maybe that will come to fruition in some sort of way. Do you get me?
Like I think for something bigger and greater, you have to sort of stop the more immediate comfort thing. So I'm in that right now where I'm like, but like for me to do greater, I have to shed the comfort, because I could easily just jump over to something and pay rent next month. But then it's going to pull me away from my bigger purpose, I think. Like, you know.
Right, it's a good way of looking at it. Like,
have you the kind of future plans? Like, have you got anything kind of on the peripheral of? I use January really as a time to sort of, you know, plant seeds. I don't know what way, but just thinking like, what do I really want to do? And with that, it was like last year I did a lot of different projects for others, and it was definitely building community. I loved it, but now I'm sort of shifting to redirect. What are the like
three projects projects that I'd love to do this year to fulfill me.
Yeah.
And one is doing a book of my work, like a sort of retrospective.
amazing.
So that's going to happen. Now, do you ever do like your list every
Yeah.
year? And it's like, your driving license, whatever. This book has been fucking jumping every year for like,
You're gonna
so
do
it's
it.
happening. Because the accountability of it is I have designers on board. I've
Yeah,
already
yeah.
talked to sponsors to try and get funding. I'm putting it together.
That'd be sick. Yeah.
And so that's my big thing, to sort of like put it all into one space, and then a solo exhibition myself that I'm going to curate and do myself in Dublin. And so those are the things that I think they'll be fulfilling, and they'll be hard to do, but you know, you have to be met with resistance to do something great.
Yeah, yeah,
you know, if it was fucking easy peasy, then
Everyone would do it.
yeah,
Everybody
I think
be on
that.
it, like, yeah.
I think that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I think that.
That's a great way.
So those are the two things really, and then that'll be peppered with other stuff. Like I do the block party at Charlemont Square.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a real celebration of all those communities come together. That's very rewarding. So that takes a bit of time in terms of planning and leveraging off my relationships with brands or companies to sort of try to get it funded. It's a lot of that sort of. So I start that now as well to sort of.
You do the block party every year, don't you?
Yeah, it'll be its third year now.
Yeah.
I just saw something there in the space and knowing the residents and.
It is a community thing. Like, you're very invested in that. Like, talking to you. Like,
I
it's
thought
all
it was an
about that.
art thing. It's not. It's a community. it's a
yeah.
community event, but it's just an art event for a community. If you get me, it's like it's an art experience, but it's actually just a whole community event, because then it extends out to loads of different performances. But primarily, it's everyone down there at the buggies having coffees. Residents upstairs having drinks, like everyone's fucking having a buzz in this music, and it's just a get together. Like, and art is the vehicle for that, of sort of bringing it all together. You know.
It is, because like I don't really see many things like that happening in the city centre anymore. Like these kind of
It
like
seems to be kind of dead. Like.
yeah, because
There has
an
been
extent,
amazing
though,
ones. You know, like there has been like the All City Jam years ago, Tivoli Theatre. That was, you know, that Olin ran that was incredible. And then, you know, the space got redeveloped.
rest in peace, District A.
Yeah,
There's a lot of rest in peace.
Isn't
on
there?
there.
Yeah.
What is that?
Fucking
Yeah.
Dublin nightclubs. And just
Yeah.
Fucking hotels
Right.
everywhere.
and then David from Micromedia had another one down and along the quays there as well. I can't remember what it was called, but I think that's sort of where the block party came from just seeing them, like, you know, and sort of
Being
experiencing
inspired
them,
by
just
it.
sort of like I didn't create it myself. It just sort of got reinvented again into that, like, and it's not too difficult for me. I'm friends with the whole community. I just WhatsApp.
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
It's simple
You're
enough
free.
to organise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Mango, you free to DJ, and that's it. And then
relying
just
on
how
your
much
mates.
it's going to cost, and then just leverage on relationships that I have, and you know, and it's like, and simplifying it down. It's a lot of work, and it's building the blocks and painting them and shit, but it's good.
Yeah, when you mentioned that, we know we had Rebel Phoenix on the podcast before.
Yeah,
and
we did.
his museum album. You done it in your
Yeah.
How was that for you to see?
Yeah, it was deadly.
Yeah.
It was deadly, you know, because it came from just doing visual arts, and then he came to me, and I was like, oh, it's still within the same sphere, like, you know. So, and he's an incredible artist, like, and he's a dude, and yes,
sound lad,
and he didn't, you know, he curated the space brilliant as well. like visually.
Really use the space.
Yeah,
as well. Like,
yeah.
It looked phenomenal.
And that space has come to an end, so it was great to have him in there. Like, it was only him and maybe two other events, shows after that, and then I wrapped it up. Like, yeah. I'm still on the square. I moved around the corner, but like, I could see it. You know, it's a big overhead, and it wasn't funded by anyone, and as not for fucking lack of trying, man. Like,
you're out there
but
trying.
like, it was me selling work, and that's what funded that little revolution. And then there's commission off a commission off the artists as well. So everyone in that community was funding it, but like, you know, it came to a stage where I was like, I could see it going, like, you know, and it was deadly. But launch night, same 60 crew drinking the same drinks. You're like, this is, I love this.
I
but
love
like,
you guys, but I'm sick of seeing it.
yeah, but like, you know, it was a commercial gallery, but I knew from the start it wasn't going to be a commercial. Like, it's a bad business plan. It was a very rewarding business, passion, but like, you're opening a gallery for a lot of artists to have their first shows, so, and then you're building new relationships. It's not going to be a commercially big gallery. It was just an incubator, something that I thought was missing within our space. Come from my space of being a graffiti writer, street artist, there was no linear way of like doing fine art to whatever to get into, even though I was studying graphic design, but there was no set path, so I sort of created a space, and I knew there was a time on that, how long it could last, and you know, we got 5 years out of it, and And if I was to do it again, I'd probably be approached with like, okay, get funding, get a gallerist, you do all that shit. But I was just like, painting. I said, this makes sense. Let's just fucking do it.
Headphones now.
And everyone's like, don't do it. And I'm like, do it. And it made
doing
sense.
Yeah,
and I'm so fucking glad it did make that I didn't listen to heads. Like, I don't really listen to, I take it on board if someone's saying stuff, but if my juju says it's good to do, I'll do it.
Then you go for it.
Yeah.
You seem to have, you have a great like kind of compass on yourself of what's like,
Yeah, I think so. My career, yeah. Now, you could also look all the missed opportunities I've had and all the sort of fucking stupid things I've done. I haven't been focused in my 20s, and but the 20s were fucking there for just getting loose for a decade, and the friendships that I have.
Now you speak my language.
Yeah,
Don't get 'em going.
I still built great friendships and understanding and going through all that grit. There's been a lot there, and I can't devalue that either.
You learn from that though as well.
Yeah.
You're growing
It's
to
like
the
that's the
person you are,
journey,
like.
isn't it? That's the journey of how you get to where you are today. Is you make mistakes and you learn from them, and you don't you
keep going.
hold on to them for too long. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And like I've said it before. It's like I actually enjoy maturing because like I know I've made all these stupid mistakes back then, and went out for too long when I should have went home and stuff like that. Still trying to learn that.
You're still learning.
I'm still trying to learn that. But I am learning it, you know.
Yeah.
And then now I can see myself as a different person to what I was when I was in my 20s. But I also really enjoyed my fucking self back then.
Yeah, but that's what they're for. Like.
And now I'm like I have an older head on my shoulders. I'm like, I'm actually happy with what I've done. Like,
yeah. You need to,
you stand by
you
it.
need to be, you need to be nice to yourself a bit about it. Like, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good crack, even though I don't remember most of it. But just when you say the older head, I think, and the accountability, like you'll dip into that sort of your 20s, and you go, oh, it's just not serving me anymore.
Yeah.
I just have a different purpose, approach things, and it's all ahead of you, and it's.
I'm looking forward to it though as well.
It's amazing, man. It's an absolute gift. You're open, and you can it's a gross word to use, but it's like a wound, and you just have to make sure you got to protect it. If that gets infected, it can fucking feed. So you have to just. I do a lot around my mental health and work on myself a lot, like meditation, training. Like to just build that mental armor, and I still get fucking Debbie Downers. hard ones.
Like it comes in waves. Like
the sun was out last week, and literally gave me that lift. I got
for the first time in like 12 days.
So you have to manage it and be mindful of it. And
of course, you kind of that's it. You got to just be mindful of these things. So we all suffer like from like things like that. It comes in waves, so we all just got to do like even the running. The running has helped me massively like over the last like year as well. It's been such a vehicle for me for change and stuff like that. And obviously you do it as well. Like it's phenomenal.
Where did you come up with the name Artful Joggers?
Yeah.
Don't know. I think I put it into a WhatsApp group and everyone's coming up. It just came. I don't know. It just came.
It just came to me, that one sunny day, I was like, oh my god. Running club.
We were trying loads of different names, and but I was in Paris. I was drinking every day, eating pastries every day, and I would do a lot of journaling. I'd find that good. And journal was literally like, you're miserable. This is shit. You're not fulfilling yourself. Like
you weren't putting that down, were you?
I was just expressing how I was feeling. And I was like, I'm not feeling good. I'm not
being very
so
honest with yourself.
Overall, no, just good and bads, but let's say the overall wasn't very positive. Yeah. And so I needed change, and it was a great thing. That was in March. So then I said, right, can I get back accountability? Can I start just doing 5Ks? And then the Artful Joggers idea came, and so I just put it out there and built it out really quick. Social media allows you to do that, and then great response. Set it up, and then started jogging, and and that led me on to then once did a bit of jogging, started eating better, came off the drink then for a good few months. And it was just great, and so that then feeds into the studio. Then I'm better. I'm more emotionally available father, and it all just it's just
snowballs,
integrated life. It all feeds into it. Like it's all so you can't just expect to create great work and then not be happy in the other parts of your life. You have to try and touch on all of them.
Find the balance of it all.
If you can. It doesn't need to be in a day. It could be in a month. But it could be
gradual, though. You build up to it.
I think once you're kind of conscious of it.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing.
You're doing things to help you get to that part, then you can kind of figure it out along the way.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's definitely something that I've, like, with the running and stuff, like with the Dublin City Half Marathon at the end of March, I've, like, noticed I've I don't know, I had a few beers last night. But
That's
like, if I don't have a drink for like 3 or 4 weeks, I do notice the improvement in me running.
Man.
And then I'm like,
and then the mental clarity,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
everything, and then your like emotional state and how you respond to things, like, you know, you
Yeah.
just get stronger and stronger, like, you know,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
be quite emotional. I'd be like, I'd be very like, I've the ship laid out in my mind, and some fucking throw something in there and it throws me, and I'm like, but I can respond to it better, like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and that's a
but then it is also like, because with last night, it was a few of my mates where I hadn't seen them in a while, and like,
Well, yeah.
fuck it, I'm gonna go see the boys.
that's
like,
really important, man.
yeah, and you need that in your
You
life.
need to
Yeah.
as
switch
well,
off.
like,
Yeah, that's the thing. All
sometimes,
these
like,
parts of your life, you know, we're social animals. You have to engage with
Yeah,
your
yeah,
friends. You can't isolate yourself. And then if that's just around having a few pints, that's perfect.
That's all well and
It's
good,
still like it's all little silos, and you're filling that up, and then you'll spend time with your kid, and that's it. And then
Yeah.
you get to express yourself, and then you get to run. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that. You can't
There's
just
different
be
facets, like, of everything.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That's it. Totally.
And I think even with like the podcast, like getting to talk to people, as I said, like you're feeding into this kind of goodness,
Yeah.
to push you forward and like not be just kind of walking weekend. You know, you find things to do with the running podcast. I feel like because I'm doing so much, I don't really have time to get downtrodden or.
Yeah.
You know, now obviously
You're
it can
always-
happen at any time, but
Yeah, but you've got
being-
something on the horizon that needs
Yeah,
focus.
yeah,
like,
yeah. That's
which
it.
is
I think that's
important, like, as
important,
well,
yeah,
having
yeah.
something to shoot for, having something
Totally
to go
is,
for.
yeah. And
Like-
I'm lucky that I have art that keeps me
Yeah.
checked like that. If I didn't have it, I don't know what the fuck
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah.
doing. Like, well, I'd be a chef, I think. But
Well, it's funny, like, because I loved art in school, yeah. And like when I was in school, you had to pick between art or woodwork.
Right.
And like I was never a labourer. I was never going to be a labourer.
Couldn't do nothing.
But I did enjoy art. I done pretty well in art and in my leaving cert and stuff. And I was happy to pick art for first to third year. And then I was between metalwork and home ec for first to third year. And I was like, I'm gonna go do metalwork. For first to third year, yeah. And then I hated metalwork.
shit.
And then in fifth year, you could swap. You could do metalwork or home ec. I says, I'm going in with the girls. I'm going. Yeah. And I loved
the
it.
confidence
Yeah,
that
I loved
takes,
it.
like, you
It's
know, I
was-
wouldn't
was
have
in
had that
fifth year,
confidence.
Yeah,
I
no,
was
yeah,
like-
I wouldn't have had it
I was
talk.
like, fuck the boys. I'm going in to do this, man.
You wouldn't.
I have the blade and have my hands all greasy and like fucking filing stuff down and all, cutting me hands and stuff.
Yeah.
Just go in and make a few pastries, man.
I'm going to make a few cakes.
Like,
Bit of bread
serious.
today.
But first the third year, I was like, no, I'm going in with the boys.
Yeah.
And then I got
Then
to
you got fucking
fifth year, and
wise.
I was like, you know what,
But that's
this-
great that you're able to do that. Yeah, I would have
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
still just cut my hands off myself, even though I love cooking. yeah.
But that's what it is. It's like it's finding those things. Like you just have to kind of do it, don't you?
Yeah, and not
Yeah.
be too worried about anyone else.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
exactly,
like
yeah.
you're not the center of anyone's fucking universe, so they're
Yeah.
not, you know, they're not too focused on you. So
Yeah, that's what I said. I said before. I was like, no one actually cares.
No one cares.
Yeah,
It's all
if
like-
you care about yourself, so just focus on what makes
Just
sense
do
for
you at the end
like,
of the
yeah.
day. I think we spend so
And
much
whoever
time.
gives you shit, in other words, who
Yeah.
cares? You know, when people give you shit, that's pretty much through the lens of them seeing that you are fulfilling something that they feel
can,
they should
yeah.
be doing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
from my experience, and
Yeah,
for me
100%.
being that person of ridicule, I'd be like, well, actually, that's me fucking knowing that I should be doing that.
Yeah, I'm on
You
the
know?
right
And
track.
so once you
like-
actually then digest that and know that when people do give you shit and kick back, that's my armor. Like, well, you should be fucking doing what I'm doing, or
dead
vice
right.
versa, or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
so you can reframe things to sort of put you
Yeah.
more aligned with what you want to
Dead
do,
right.
like baking cakes.
Cupcakes and things.
Cupcakes.
Just
and things.
plugging my girlfriend's cupcakes.
She has a cupcake
Oh yes,
business. Yeah.
brilliant.
But just before we wrap up, our sponsors, Dublin Whiskey, shout out to them. They want us to ask our guests, what does living in the moment mean to you?
Right.
I know that might be a
Somewhat
little
of
bit
a hard
deep
one,
in
isn't
it.
it? It's
And I might
deep
have just
one.
thrown it there without kind of.
Living in the
Much
moment,
warning.
I guess. Like, see, I practice meditation. That really lets you able to sort of get into that, like, you know. And I guess like I'd be anxious quite a lot where I'm thinking of the future and then ruminating on the past. But like if I do meditation, I feel in the moment just slowing everything down, and it's like on the jog today, just like I've done an hour jog today, but then it's like you can reframe it to like, this is beautiful, this is actually a gift that you can go running on a Sunday morning, and the availability of that. So that's that moment. So registering and checking in. So I try to do it a few times a day, even like if I'm having my oats, if I think about it, I try to really sound so hippie, but like eat the oats and like eat and taste the fucking things,
Kids,
and feel the
eat
texture,
those oats.
and really be in the moment of it. And you'll realize just how expansive and how flavoursome and how things are great if you get in that moment. You can be on a beautiful hike. You know, I'm on a hike with my son yesterday up in Devil's Glen, and really in the moment, him chatting to me, and like I could have been thinking of what the week is like, and it would have ruined it, I would have forgotten, but like really just sitting with it, and then you'll see how explosive and rich that can be. Like,
yeah. And I like that kind of the in between that you were talking about as well.
So good, yeah.
I think that's like with me as well, and I know with my daughter, like kind of tried to sit there and take in what's going on with her, watching our mind develop into it, like this new little person, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what for me is like just watching.
She's not thinking of tomorrow or thinking of yesterday. She's so present, and you'll notice that because you're like, get in the fucking car. But like they're like, let's get in slowly.
Let's start drawing.
If you lean into that, and like yesterday, I had the whole day with him of just doing nothing. So it might take a half an hour, like mess with the window wipers and shit, and you're like, this guy is my coach. Like, you know, he's like teaching me how to be
Teaching
present.
more about you,
Man,
man.
it's incredible. Like,
you'll figure it out soon.
Yeah,
I know, it's all ahead. Can't wait.
Change
Can't
the
wait though.
nappy.
Yeah.
Wipe the bum.
Yeah, I'll be deep in the moment. Change, swaddling.
I can smell the poo-poo.
I'll show you. Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's all ahead. I can't wait. Can't wait, babe.
But Al, I really appreciate you coming up, mate.
Man,
It's been
thanks
an
for having
lovely
us,
chatting to
guys.
you, bro.
I appreciate
absolute gem. You're doing great things in the city, and
Thank you.
people should really be clued into what you're doing because it is amazing work, and
Yeah,
we really
thanks,
thank
man.
you for
That's great
coming
to
up.
hear.
Well said.
Thank you.
We'll catch you next week, I suppose. Yeah.
See you next week, folks.
All the best. I won't be hungover next week.
He will. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.